The twin sons of Arion. 6 were setting when Rylan locked the workshop door for the night. The sky outside burned orange, and the hot wind carried dust across the empty spaceport. It had been a long day, and all he wanted now was a quiet meal and a few hours of sleep. His workshop smelled of metal, engine oil, and the strange sweet scent of alien coolant. It was the only place in the entire galaxy where he truly felt at home. But tonight, something felt different. Rylan paused. He thought he heard something outside. At first, it sounded like the usual wind hitting the steel walls, but then came a soft scraping noise, metal dragging across metal. It was slow, uneven, almost like someone was pushing something heavy. He frowned and turned around. There was again. SCRRK, CRRK? Who's out there? He called, but the only reply was the shifting dust and the low hum of distant ships. For a moment, he thought it was simply a stray droid. Many junk droids wandered the spaceport, pulling old parts from trash piles. But the sound wasn't right. Junk droids clicked and clattered. This sound was tired. Rylan grabbed a small light tool from his table and opened the workshop door. At first, he didn't see anything. The last rays of the sun hit his eyes, making him squint. Then, slowly, a small shadow moved into view from behind a pile of crates. A girl. An alien girl. She was sitting in a hovering chair that shook with every movement. Sparks fell from its underside. The chair looked like it was moments away from collapsing. The girl herself was tiny, no older than 10, maybe 11 in human years. Her skin a pale violet shade, and her eyes glowing faint blue, like soft neon. She clutched something in her lap, something large, heavy, and metallic. Rylan stepped forward. "Are you hurt?" The girl lifted her eyes. She looked scared, terrified even. Her voice was shaky when she spoke. "Please help me." Rylan's heart tightened. He hurried closer and saw the full damage. One side of the hover chair was bent, its power coil cracked open, leaking energy. Her legs didn't move at all, hanging limp under a small blanket. He also noticed the metal object she was holding. It was a Podracer engine coil, one far more advanced than anything he had seen on the Outer Rim. It looked like a prototype, something stolen or smuggled. "What happened to you?" Rylan asked gently. "They found me," she whispered. "I ran, but they hurt my chair. I don't have anywhere else to go." "Who found you?" The wind blew across the spaceport, and she flinched as if expecting someone to jump out of the shadows. "They will come for me again," she said. "Please just fix my chair. I only need to survive tomorrow." Rylan didn't like the sound of that. He knelt beside her chair, checking the damage. The coil was completely burned out. There was no way this chair could fly another meter. "You're lucky you made it here at all," he said softly. She nodded, gripping the Podracer part even tighter. "I shouldn't have come here. They will be angry." Rylan stood. Who? Who is chasing you?" Before she could answer, a huge shadow passed over them. Both of them froze. The shadow was large, too large to be a bird or a small ship. It moved slowly, silently, like something hovering high above and watching. Rylan didn't see anything in the sky except a dark shape against the fading light. The girl whispered, "They found me again." Rylan pushed her chair inside quickly and shut the workshop door. He bolted it, then added 2 more locks. Inside the workshop, the lights flickered as the old power grid hummed. The girl looked around with wide eyes, and Rylan noticed she was trembling. "You're safe here," he said. "No one is safe," she replied. Rylan crouched beside her again. "My name is Rylan. What's yours?" "Lyra." "Okay, Lyra. Tell me what's going on. Why do you have a Podracer engine coil? And why were you out here alone?" She took a deep breath. "I must race tomorrow." Rylan blinked. "Race? You? In your condition?" Her chin lifted slightly. "I can do it. I have trained for months. But someone destroyed my racer. They do not want me to race. They want me to fail. And if I fail—" She stopped. Rylan waited. "If I fail," she whispered at last, "they will take me away forever." Rylan felt a strange coldness creep up his spine. Nothing about this situation felt normal. A paralyzed alien girl forced into a dangerous pod race? Sabotage? Shadows watching from the sky? "What happens if you win?" he asked. Lyra looked down at her legs. "They will have to let me stay. They will have to accept me." Rylan understood now. She wasn't just racing for fun. She was racing for her life. He studied the Podracer engine coil she brought. It was burnt and cracked, completely unusable. Whoever sabotaged her meant business. You can't race with this, Ryland said. I know. Lyra's voice trembled. That's why I came to you. I heard humans are kind. I heard human mechanics fix things no one else can fix. Ryland swallowed. She came here because she thought he could save her. He looked at her chair, her broken coil, the dark sky outside, and a shadow that was still out there somewhere. This wasn't a simple repair job. This was trouble. Big trouble. But he couldn't leave her like this. He took a deep breath and said, Lyra, if you want to race tomorrow. He lifted the broken coil and tossed it aside. Then we're not fixing this. We're building something new. Lyra stared at him, and for the first time since she arrived, she smiled. The secret Podracer project. The workshop lights buzzed softly as Ryland cleared a space on the main table. Lyra watched him quietly, her fingers still gripping the sides of her damaged hover chair. The fear in her eyes had softened, replaced by something he didn't expect, hope. But hope was fragile, and outside, danger was still waiting. Ryland powered up his scanner. The device hummed as it scanned the broken Podracer coil Lyra had brought. Strange readings flashed across the screen, codes he had never seen before, symbols from high-level alien manufacturers. This wasn't normal tech. This was government-level tech, maybe even military. Ryland's brow furrowed. Lyra, I need to know something. Where did you get this? Lyra looked away. It was given to me. By who? She hesitated. Someone who wanted to help. That someone must have powerful enemies, Ryland muttered. The scanner beeped loudly, showing encrypted locks and warning signals. This coil belonged to a restricted engineering lab, far beyond anything a child should touch. He placed the coil down. Lyra was staring at him now, worried. You can still build a new racer, right? She asked, voice small. Ryland forced a smile. I've built worse from scrap piles. But if we do this, we do it fast. And quiet. Lyra nodded, but Ryland saw the fear return in her eyes. He pushed her hover chair toward the corner table, where he kept schematics of old ships and broken engines. She studied every movement like she was afraid to breathe too loud. You said someone sabotaged your racer, Ryland said as he pulled out spare parts. Any idea who? Lyra swallowed hard. People from my clan. They said a girl who cannot walk has no right to race. Her voice trembled, but her eyes flashed with something fierce. They want me gone, she whispered. Ryland stopped working. He looked straight at her. You don't seem like someone who gives up. She lifted her chin. If I win the race, they must recognize me. It is the law. Ryland's eyes narrowed. So this wasn't just a local event. It was political. And if you lose? She said nothing. Silence was answer enough. He sighed. Okay, Lyra. Then we win. Her eyes widened, then softened. He had no idea how deeply those two words affected her. Hours passed as Ryland worked. Sparks lit the workshop. Metal clanged. Tools whirred. Lyra watched everything with silent awe, her expression shifting from fear to amazement. Ryland had always worked alone, but now it felt strangely good to have someone watching. He began shaping the main frame of the new Podracer. Instead of traditional steering pedals, he designed a full hand control system, smooth, fast, and perfectly suited for someone who couldn't use their legs. Lyra stared. You built this for me? Who else? Ryland said, pretending not to be proud. No one ever changed anything for me before, she whispered. Her voice was so soft, he almost missed it. He didn't answer. He kept working, because if he stopped, he might say something that mattered too much. At midnight, the workshop lights flickered suddenly. Not because of power, but because something passed by the window. A moving shadow. Ryland froze. The shadow slid across the wall. Slow. Watching. Waiting. Lyra gasped, her eyes wide with terror. They found us again. Ryland grabbed a welding torch like a weapon. Silly, but better than nothing. He walked toward the window carefully and peeked outside. Nothing. Only the silent night sky. But silence was worse. Silence meant the threat wasn't gone. It was hiding. Lyra whispered, It's them. The hunters. They follow me everywhere. Ryland returned to her quickly. Who are they? Why chase you? Lyra shook her head. I cannot say. Not yet. Not good enough, Rylan snapped. If someone's trying to kill you, I need answers. She looked up at him with those glowing blue eyes. Eyes filled with fear, guilt, and something heavy, something she was hiding. If you know the truth, she whispered, you will not help me. Rylan stared at her. Try me. But she stayed silent. That scared him more than if she had told the truth. He returned to the workbench, trying to shake off the tension. The scanner on the table suddenly beeped loudly. A red light flashed. Rylan looked down and froze. The scanner wasn't detecting the broken coil anymore. It was detecting a tracking beacon. And not one. 3. All active. All close. Lyra, he said slowly, were you followed when you came here? She shook her head quickly. No, I don't think. But Rylan already knew the truth. They're here, he whispered. The workshop door rattled, once then twice like someone was testing it. Lyra gripped the sides of her chair. Rylan, don't open it. I'm not opening anything, he muttered. Then the shadow fell across the window again. Bigger this time. Faster. Closer. Someone, or something, was circling the workshop. Rylan pulled Lyra behind a stack of crates. He lowered his voice. Listen to me. If they break in, I want you to crawl into the unfinished Podracer frame. Hide inside. They won't look there. I'll stall them. Lyra shook her head fiercely. No, they will hurt you. Rylan took her hand, carefully, gently. Better me than you. The pounding on the door grew louder. The shadows outside multiplied. Voices echoed, deep, metallic, mechanical. Return the girl. She belongs to the council. Lyra's face drained of color. Rylan, please, don't let them take me. Rylan looked at the half-built Podracer, then at the frightened girl. He made his decision. Lyra, get inside the frame. Now. She hesitated. Now. She slid into the metal frame, trembling. Rylan covered her with a tarp and scattered tools to make it look like ordinary scrap. The pounding stopped. Silence fell. Then, a slow, cold voice spoke through the door. The diplomat arrives tomorrow. Bring us the girl, or we will bring destruction. Rylan felt something inside him ignite, a fire he didn't know he still had. Tomorrow wasn't just race day. Tomorrow was war. Building the perfect Podracer. The workshop felt different after the hunters left. The silence wasn't calm anymore. It was thick, heavy, full of danger. Rylan stood with his hand still resting on the locked door, breathing hard. Outside, the night had gone still. Too still, as if the shadows were holding their breath. Lyra slowly climbed out from the Podracer frame. Her small body shook as she tried to speak. Rylan, they won't stop. They never stop. Rylan forced himself to stay calm. I noticed. He walked back to the work table with quick steps, pretending he wasn't scared. But fear crawled up his neck like a cold wire. Hunters. A council. A diplomat arriving tomorrow. This wasn't a simple racing issue. This was political, dangerous, and completely way above his pay grade. He looked at Lyra's damaged hover chair, then at her frightened eyes. He couldn't give her back. Not now. He turned on every light in the workshop and grabbed a large metal sheet. If they're coming tomorrow, he said, then we finish the Podracer tonight. Lyra blinked. But you just heard them. They will come back. Exactly, Rylan said, starting to weld the sheet. Sparks flew like tiny stars. So your best chance is to beat them in the one place they don't control. The race. He nodded. If you win, the law protects you. They can't take you. Not even the diplomat. Lyra stared at him with a mixture of fear and hope. You would do all this for me? Rylan didn't look at her. Someone has to. But the truth was simpler. He didn't like bullies, especially powerful ones. Rylan grabbed a datapad and pulled up the old racer schematics, but halfway through, he froze. Something wasn't right. Lines of code were shifting on the screen. Shifting. Moving. Alive. Lyra leaned closer. That is not normal. No, it wasn't. A hidden program activated, one buried deep inside the broken engine coil she had brought earlier. It projected a holographic blueprint into the air above the table. Rylan stepped back. What is this? He whispered. The hologram showed a Podracer design unlike anything he had seen. Sleek, compact, hyper-efficient, too advanced for village races, too advanced for civilian races. This was royal-level technology. Lyra's face paled. That is my father's design. Rylan slowly turned toward her. Father? As in, the high engineer of the royal sector, she whispered. Before he died, Rylan stared at her. Lyra, who are you really? She swallowed. Her eyes dropped. I am no one. He didn't push. Not yet. Instead, he pointed at the hologram. This design, it's perfect. Lyra shook her head. No, it was only a dream. He never finished it. He was killed before he could build it. Killed. Rylan felt the temperature drop. By who, he asked. Lyra hesitated. Then she whispered, the same people who want me. Rylan set his jaw and turned back to the hologram. Well, if your father dreamed it, we're finishing it tonight. Lyra's breath caught. Rylan, this design is too advanced. It needs rare materials. Rylan smirked. Lucky for you, I'm a hoarder. He opened a hidden metal crate on the wall. Inside were rare scrap parts he had collected for years. Crystal ignition rods, bent grav plates, a micro-thruster he never had the heart to sell. Lyra gasped. You had all this? Humans really are strange. Yeah, well, don't tell anyone, Rylan muttered. He laid the parts on the table and got to work. The hologram guided him, showing perfect measurements. Every cut, every bolt, every microlink was exact. It felt like someone else was building through him. The racer slowly took shape. Sleek curves, twin engines, strange glowing channels that looked almost alive. Lyra reached out and touched the metal gently. It feels warm. It's reacting to your energy, Rylan said. This tech is bonded, but it should not be bonding with someone like me. Rylan frowned. Why not? Lyra looked down at her legs. Because I am broken. Rylan snorted. Says who? My clan. My teachers. The council. They're idiots, he cut in. Lyra looked up, startled. You're not broken, Rylan said. Your legs don't work. Big deal. Your heart does. Lyra's eyes softened, but before she could answer, the workshop sensors beeped sharply. Rylan checked the screen and felt his stomach drop. 3 ships. Closing in. Fast. Lyra, he said quietly, get down. Lyra slid behind a heavy crate. Rylan cut the lights, plunging the workshop into shadows. Only the glowing outline of the half-built Podracer remained. The ships landed outside with a heavy thud. Boots hit the ground. Slow. Steady. Purposeful. Voices echoed. She is here. Do not damage the human. The diplomat wants him alive. Break the door. Rylan's heart pounded. Alive? Why him? The door shook violently as someone struck it from outside. Rylan grabbed a plasma cutter and whispered to Lyra, we're not done. No matter what happens, we finish the racer. The door shook again, harder. Then, the hunters activated a fusion torch outside. A thin line of melting metal cut down the workshop door. Lyra covered her mouth in fear. Rylan stood between her and the door, gripping the plasma cutter like a sword. The metal line grew wider. A bright glow filled the workshop. Then, a calm, deep, terrifying voice echoed from outside. Step aside, human. The girl is property of the Royal Council, and the diplomat demands her return. Rylan whispered back. Over my dead body. The door exploded inward, and the hunters stepped inside. The night attack. The workshop door crashed inward with a metallic scream, sending sparks across the floor. Rylan shielded his eyes as the glow faded, revealing 3 tall hunters stepping through the smoke. They weren't mercenaries. They weren't soldiers. They were something worse. Their armor looked alive, layers of black plates shifting like shadows. Blue symbols glowed across their chests, pulsing with an unnatural light. Their helmets had no visors, no eyes, just smooth, hardened surfaces that made them look like walking graves. The lead hunter spoke first, his voice cold and artificial. Human mechanic, you were ordered to surrender the girl. Rylan tightened his grip on the plasma cutter. She's not yours to take. The hunter tilted his head slightly. Incorrect. She belongs to the Royal Council, and the diplomat arrives soon. Surrender her. Rylan smirked, though his heart hammered like a reactor core. Yeah? Well, the door was locked. You could have knocked. The second hunter lifted a weapon, long, thin, and humming with energy. Do not provoke. We do not require you alive. Only functional. Rylan's eyes narrowed. What's that supposed to mean? Before the hunter could answer, metal behind them shifted. Lyra was hiding, but the unfinished Podracer wasn't silent anymore. Its core pulsed with a soft golden glow. The hunters noticed. The lead hunter raised his hand. You activated the prototype? Prototype? Rylan blinked. Prototype of what? The hunter stepped forward toward the glowing Podracer, but Rylan blocked his path, cutter raised. Back up. The hunter didn't move. That machine is royal property. Rylan gave a humorless laugh. Funny. Lyra said the same about her freedom. The hunter extended a hand toward Rylan's chest. Not touching, just hovering. A wave of pressure slammed into Rylan like a freight ship. He flew backward, hitting a stack of crates hard enough to knock the breath out of him. Lyra gasped softly but stayed hidden. Rylan struggled to get up, head spinning. They used gravitic pressure tech, elite level. Something normal hunters didn't have. These weren't simple trackers. They were royal enforcers. The lead hunter scanned the room. Girl, come out. You will be treated with dignity if you comply. Lyra's voice trembled from behind the crates. You lie. You always lie. Her fear sliced through Rylan. He forced himself to stand. Lyra, the hunter said, your father broke the law. You must face judgment for his actions. Her father? Rylan's mind raced. So this was political and dangerous beyond anything he imagined. Rylan wiped blood from his lip and stepped forward again. Leave her alone. The second hunter raised his weapon. Human, stay down. Rylan straightened, gripping his plasma cutter tighter. Make me. The hunter fired. A beam of compressed force shot across the workshop, blasting a hole through the metal floor where Rylan had stood half a second earlier. He rolled, sparks raining over him. The hunter spread out. Their movements were smooth, mechanical, coordinated. They weren't here to threaten. They were here to claim. Rylan reached the control panel and slammed his palm onto it. Red emergency lights flashed across the workshop. The doors slammed shut. Steel shutters descended over the windows. The entire workshop sealed like a bunker. The hunters didn't react. We warned you, the lead one said calmly. They stepped forward again. Rylan grabbed a heavy cable and yanked it free. Electricity arced wildly. He hurled the sparking cable toward the floor near the hunters. A bright explosion cracked through the workshop, a flash that forced even the hunters to shield themselves. Lyra took the chance. She crawled out of her hiding spot and slid into the Podracer frame, gasping as the energy core pulsed beneath her. The machine recognized her presence. It lit up, just a little, just enough to cast golden light on her frightened face. The hunters saw it. The lead hunter snapped. Do not let her bond with the prototype. Prototype. Bond. Rylan realized the truth. This racer, it's not just a machine, is it? Lyra didn't answer. She pressed her hands onto the unfinished controls, and the golden light glowed brighter, responding. The hunters moved fast, too fast. One reached for Lyra. Rylan sprinted and crashed into him with his full weight. The hunter stumbled back slightly, surprised a human would dare. Rylan punched him. His fist hit armor. Armor didn't care, but the distraction worked. Lyra screamed as another hunter tried to grab her. Her hands clutched the glowing controls. An entire workshop shook. A wave of energy pulsed outward from the Podracer, blasting all three hunters backward. They slammed into the walls, armor sparking. Silence. Even Rylan stopped breathing. Lyra stared at her hands, horrified. I didn't mean to. I don't know how it happened. Rylan swallowed hard. Lyra, what are you? Before she could answer, the lead hunter rose again, armor cracked but glowing with new symbols. You have activated a royal resonance event, he hissed. This confirms your identity. Rylan stood between them again. What identity? The hunter spoke slowly, each word heavy with threat. She is the last living heir of the royal line, and she must be taken, alive or dead. Lyra's face went white. Rylan raised his plasma cutter again. Well then, he growled, you're not touching her. The hunters raised their weapons. The Podracer pulsed, and the night attack turned into open war. The race that was never meant to be. The sons of Arion, 6 rose too fast, too bright, too loud. After the night attack, Ryland didn't sleep. Lyra didn't either. The whole workshop smelled of burnt metal and cracked armor. The hunters had vanished before dawn, leaving only threats and warning symbols carved into the dust. But the race day had arrived, and they had no choice. Lyra's eyes were red, but focused. If I don't race, they will take me before sunset. Ryland checked the Podracer's engines. They glowed with strange golden veins, reacting like they were alive. The machine felt powerful, maybe too powerful. You shouldn't be forced to do this, he muttered. Lyra touched the metal gently. I have to. My father died because he tried to protect me. If I run away forever, then his death is wasted. Ryland said nothing. His throat felt tight. He strapped the racer onto the hover lift and pushed it toward the spaceport arena. Every step felt like walking into a storm. The Varian 6 race arena was already crowded. Thousands of aliens filled the stands, shouting, laughing, eating glowing snacks. Massive screens displayed each racer's pod. Announcers screamed into the speakers. But the moment Lyra appeared, silence spread. Whispers cut through the air. That's the paralyzed girl. She should not be here. She is a curse. She will crash and burn. Ryland clenched his jaw. Ignore them. Lyra nodded, though her small hands trembled on the Podracer's seat. A tall alien official scanned her chair. His eyes narrowed. New design? No clan sponsor? This is illegal. Before Ryland could answer, another official leaned in, eyes widening at Lyra's glowing racer. That symbol, that energy is that royal tech. The first official stepped back instantly. Fear flashed across his face. Ryland realized something important. The council feared royal technology, but not because it was dangerous, because it was powerful, which meant Lyra was more important than they admitted. Lyra spoke softly. I have the right to race. As the law says. The officials hesitated, then stepped aside. The law was clear. Any citizen could race once per season. If they won, they achieved recognition. A protection no one could break. Not even the council. Not even the diplomat. The crowd parted reluctantly as Lyra's Podracer was lifted into position. Ryland leaned close. You don't need to win first place. You just need to cross the finish line. Lyra whispered, I will try. And Ryland whispered back, no, you will do more than try. Engines roared. Energy thrummed across the arena. The countdown began. Ryland's stomach twisted. He saw movement near the far gates, black armored shapes. The hunters, watching, waiting. One raised something like a communicator. Ryland's heart dropped. They were sending a message. A warning? Or something worse? Before he could move, the race announcer screamed. Start. All racers shot forward. Explosions of dust and fire. Lyra hesitated for a second. Her hand shook. Her breath hitched. Then the Podracer responded to her fear, almost soothing her. Its engines hummed softly like a heartbeat. Lyra breathed out, and she pressed the controls. Her Podracer shot forward. The crowd gasped. So did the other racers. Lyra's pod moved faster than anything they had ever seen, weaving between obstacles with perfect, impossible accuracy. Ryland stared. The machine wasn't just reacting to her commands. It was reacting to her emotions. He whispered, it's bonded. A nearby spectator heard him. Bonded? That is not possible. But it was happening. And that meant Lyra was truly royal. In the canyon section of the track, things went wrong. 3 enemy racers suddenly veered toward Lyra. Their engines flickered with unnatural blue light. Ryland recognized the glow instantly. Council sabotage. The hunters had hacked them. They weren't racing. They were attacking. Ryland shouted at a guard. Stop them. The guard pretended not to hear. Lyra sensed the danger. Her eyes widened as the 3 pods boxed her in, engines screaming. They were trying to smash her, force her off the track, end her life accidentally. She whispered, no, I won't die today. The golden lines of her Podracer brightened. The engines roared. Then, the racer flipped sideways, sliding between 2 enemy pods with a move no Podracer could perform. The crowd screamed. Her pod spun upright again, engines blazing. She sped forward, leaving the attackers crashing into the canyon wall in a boom of dust and fire. Rylan almost collapsed from the shock. She's fighting back, he whispered. That machine is protecting her. But the danger wasn't over. A massive drone dropped from the canyon sky, armed with blasters. The crowd panicked. That's not part of the race. They're trying to kill her. Who would send that? Rylan knew. The hunters. The council. The diplomat. Lyra ducked as the drone fired a pulse beam that scorched the ground beside her. She swung the Podracer hard left. The drone chased. Rylan shouted at the officials, "Shut it down." "No authority," they yelled. "Race rules forbid interference." Rylan wanted to scream. Lyra couldn't outrun the drone. She couldn't outgun it. She only had one thing left. The bond. She pressed her hands deeper into the glowing controls. The Podracer responded instantly, engines glowing gold. Rylan could almost feel the energy vibrating through the air. Then, Lyra whispered, "Please help me." The Podracer answered. A shock wave burst from the engines, blasting the drone backward into a canyon wall. It exploded in a shower of sparks. The crowd erupted. Some screamed in fear, some in awe, some in pure shock. And Lyra kept going. She raced like she had been born for this. She crossed the final bend. The finish line came into view, and just as she approached it, a giant silver ship descended from the sky. Smooth, silent, deadly. A figure stepped out in ceremonial armor. The arena fell silent. Rylan felt his heart freeze. Lyra's hand shook, because she knew exactly who it was. The Galactic Diplomat. And he wasn't here to congratulate her. He was here to claim her. The Galactic Diplomat appears. The silver ship didn't land. It descended, slow, silent, and terrifying, like a blade from the sky. Its metal surface reflected the twin suns, turning it into a glowing spear of light that froze the entire arena. All the cheering stopped. All the voices died. Even the engines of the finished racers went silent. Lyra's Podracer slowed near the finish line, unsure, trembling. Rylan felt cold sweat on his neck. This wasn't a normal arrival. This was a declaration, a warning, a threat. The ship hovered above the ground, and a ramp unfolded, glowing with shifting blue lines. A tall figure stepped out, wearing ceremonial armor that shimmered like polished obsidian. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a hunter. He wasn't a clan leader. He was more, much more. Whispers spread through the arena. That is a Galactic Diplomat. Why is he here? This is above clan level. This girl must be important. The diplomat walked with slow, controlled steps. Every movement carried power. Not physical power, but political power, the kind that could change a planet's fate. Rylan hated him immediately. The diplomat reached the middle of the track and raised one hand. A wave of energy pulsed outward. The crowd felt it. Every screen flickered. The air vibrated. Competitors, the diplomat said, voice echoing like thunder. The race is now halted. The officials panicked. "Sir, with respect, you cannot." The diplomat looked at them, just looked, and their voices died. Rylan pushed forward through the crowd, heart hammering. Lyra sat frozen inside her Podracer, staring at the diplomat like he was a nightmare she had tried to forget. He turned his helmet toward her, and even from far away, Rylan felt the pressure of the diplomat's gaze. "You." His voice was calm, but sharp as a blade. "Step out," Lyra whispered. "I cannot." The diplomat tilted his head slightly. "You refuse a direct order?" Rylan yelled from the sideline. "She doesn't have to listen to you." Several aliens gasped. No one talked to a diplomat like that. The diplomat looked at Rylan now, and the air around the human grew heavier, like invisible hands were squeezing his lungs. Rylan stumbled, but stayed standing. "Leave her alone." The diplomat's voice dropped to a chilling calm. "You interfere again, human mechanic, and I will remove you." "Try me," Rylan spat. Lyra's eyes widened. "Rylan, oh." The diplomat raised his hand. A shock wave blasted out. Rylan hit the ground, sliding through dust. His ribs burned, vision blurred, but he pushed himself up again. The diplomat stared at him, almost confused. "You stand." "Interesting." Rylan wiped blood from his lip. "I've had worse bosses." Several spectators snorted despite their fear. But the diplomat didn't laugh. He turned back to Lyra. "It is time," he said. Then, he removed his helmet. The crowd gasped. His face was cold, angular, marked with faint glowing lines, royal markings. His eyes were bright, unnatural silver. "Child," he said, voice echoing with a strange sadness, "you cannot run from your blood." Lyra shook her head, terrified. No, I'm not like you. I don't want the throne." Ryland's breath caught. "Throne?" The diplomat continued, stepping closer. "Your father was the last high engineer. Your mother was the last royal speaker. Their union was forbidden. Their power, too dangerous." Lyra squeezed her hands around the Podracer controls. "You killed them." The diplomat didn't answer. Silence was confirmation. "You hunted us," she whispered, "because you wanted the power for yourself." The diplomat's voice turned cold. "I maintain balance. Their power would have torn the galaxy apart." Ryland shouted, "So now you want to kill their daughter too?" The diplomat frowned. "Kill?" He shook his head. "No, I want her alive." Lyra flinched. He continued, voice rising like a storm. "She is the last heir. Her resonance with royal technology is absolute. She must be taken and trained. She must complete the rite. She must become what she was born to be." Lyra screamed, "I don't want to be your tool." She grabbed the Podracer controls, and the machine lit up with blinding gold. The diplomat drew back, shielded his eyes. "So the prototype awakened for you?" Ryland, still on the ground, stared in shock. It wasn't just a Podracer anymore. It was alive, and it had chosen her. The diplomat lowered his hand, expression unreadable. "You do not understand, child. Your power is not a gift. It is a threat." He raised his voice to the entire arena. "If she lives free, the galaxy will fall into war." Ryland shouted, "If you take her, the galaxy loses something better." The diplomat shook his head. "Human emotion blinds you." He reached for Lyra again, and the Podracer responded. It unleashed a wave of golden energy that cracked the ground around it. Dust swirled. The air hummed. The diplomat slid back a few steps, surprised. For the first time, he looked unsure. Lyra's voice shook with fear and courage. "I choose my own path." The diplomat stared at her for a long moment. Then he said the most chilling words yet. "Then you are now a threat to the Royal Council." He raised his arm. Hunters appeared from the shadows. Hundreds, circling the arena. The crowd screamed and fled. Ryland lifted himself to his feet, heart pounding. Lyra gripped the controls. The Podracer hovered higher. The diplomat pointed at her, and the hunters prepared to strike. The final stand. The arena turned into a storm of fear. People ran in every direction as the hunters circled like dark wolves, closing in on Lyra from every side. Their armor glowed with cold blue marks. Their weapons hummed with deadly light. Ryland stood between them and Lyra, even though he could barely breathe. His ribs hurt. Dust filled his lungs. But he didn't move. He couldn't move. He had made a promise to protect her. "Come on then," he whispered. "You want her? You go through me." The lead hunter stepped forward. "Human mechanic, you're weak. You cannot defend a royal heir." Ryland wiped blood from his mouth. "Watch me." The hunter lifted a weapon. But before he could fire, the air trembled. Not from fear. Not from engines. From her. Lyra clutched the Podracer controls, tears in her eyes, but fire in her heart. "I'm not weak," she whispered. "I'm not broken." The golden lines across the Podracer flared, brighter, hotter, alive. The diplomat's eyes widened. No, not resonance level 2. She is too young. But it was too late. A shockwave of pure golden light exploded outward from the Podracer. The hunters stumbled. The crowd fell silent. Even the diplomat stepped back. The Podracer rose into the air, 3 feet, then 5, then 10. The engines hummed like a living heartbeat, synchronized with Lyra's pulse. Ryland stared up in awe. "Lyra, you're glowing." She wasn't just glowing. She was radiating. The energy wrapped around her like protective wings. The diplomat raised his voice, furious and afraid. "Stop this. You cannot handle that power." Lyra looked down at him, trembling but unbroken. "That's the difference between us. You fear power. I do not." The hunters charged. They didn't wait for orders. Dozens sprinted toward the Podracer, weapons raised, blades glowing. Rylan stepped in front of them. He knew he couldn't win, but he didn't run. "Stay back," he shouted. The lead hunter roared. "Human move." Lyra screamed. "No," the Podracer answered. A beam of gold burst downward, hitting the ground between Rylan and the hunters. The energy ripped through the arena floor, sending dust flying in a massive wave. The hunters were thrown back like ragdolls. Silence followed. Then Lyra opened her eyes, and something changed. Her fear was gone. Her sadness was gone. Her doubt was gone. In its place, only strength. She spoke, and her voice was calm, too calm for a child. "You chase me because I hold power you want. But this power is not for your throne, not for your council, not for your control." She lifted the Podracer higher. The diplomat watched with clenched fists. He wasn't calm anymore. He wasn't powerful anymore. He was scared. "Child," he warned, "if you continue, you declare yourself rogue. You will become an enemy of the entire royal sector." Lyra shook her head slowly. "I declare myself free." Rylan felt something break inside him, something tight and painful. Pride. He was proud of her, more than anyone had ever been. The diplomat raised both hands. Blue energy crackled around him. "Then I have no choice." He fired. A bolt of pure force shot toward Lyra. Rylan screamed her name, but the golden Podracer reacted instantly. A shield formed, round and bright, deflecting the diplomat's attack like it was nothing but wind. The diplomat stepped back, shocked. "And no, impossible. That shield is forbidden technology," Rylan shouted. "Looks like she just broke your rules." The diplomat roared in frustration. "Hunters! Seize them!" Hundreds charged again. Lyra closed her eyes. "Please protect them." The Podracer's energy expanded again, bigger, brighter, stronger. A golden dome enveloped the entire arena floor. Hunters slammed into it and were thrown back violently. Their weapons exploded on impact. Their armor cracked. Their lights flickered out. The diplomat stared in horror. "This is not possible," he whispered. "Only a true royal with full resonance can." He stopped, because he finally understood. Lyra wasn't just an heir. She was the heir, the last one, the strongest one, the only one the prototype would ever bond with. She looked down at him, tears rolling gently down her cheeks. "You killed my family because you feared us. Because you feared me." The diplomat bowed his head. For the first time, he looked defeated. "Then what do you choose?" he whispered. "What will you become?" Lyra breathed out, voice trembling with both fear and courage. "I will become someone who protects others, the way Rylan protected me." Rylan's throat tightened. Lyra lowered the Podracer. The golden energy dimmed, becoming soft again. The hunters lay scattered. The diplomat stood alone. The crowd watched in shocked silence. Rylan walked toward her slowly. She looked at him with small, exhausted eyes. "Did I do the right thing?" Rylan lifted her gently from the Podracer's seat. "You did the brave thing." The diplomat spoke softly. "Child, Lyra, you have won your recognition. By law, as long as you remain with the human protector, we cannot touch you." Rylan froze. "Wait, human protector?" The diplomat nodded slowly. "The Podracer chose you as well, human mechanic. The girl's bond is strongest with you. You are now her official guardian." Lyra gasped. Rylan blinked. The diplomat looked away. "The council will not like this," he said quietly. "But the law stands." He stepped back toward his ship. Hunters crawled behind him, broken but alive. Before leaving, the diplomat turned one last time. "Protect her, human, because the galaxy will come for her again." Rylan stood tall. "I will," Lyra whispered. "We will face them together." And as the silver ship lifted into the sky, leaving only dust and silence behind, Rylan looked at the small alien girl beside him. She wasn't a burden. She wasn't a curse. She wasn't broken. She was a storm. And together, they were about to change the galaxy.